Welcome to Spreading Outbreak Information in Open and Accessible Ways, a presentation by Carlos Goller, Nidhi Grover, and David Tully from NC State University. These slides can be accessed at go.ncsu.edu/outbreak23 or by scanning this QR code. As part of an interdisciplinary science course, we used open educational resources and co-creation as the foundation for our engagement during this semester-long seminar-style honors course. And the abstract can be found on our slides. The learning outcomes for this session are for participants to be able to describe how to implement co-writing activities in their own courses, explain how the co-creation of case studies can help students incorporate different perspectives, list several advantages and disadvantages of collaborative classwork, and finally, to share ideas for how variations of this approach can be implemented in different courses. Our outline is as follows. We'll introduce the team, describe the course, describe what are outbreak case studies, share some resources on open educational resources and open pedagogy incubators from NC State, provide some course format and examples, build on the Outbreak PubPub, and talk about further connections. Our values and the relevance of these activities and Open Ed 2023 interconnect in several different ways. We appreciate the opportunity to share how we can promote the creation and improvement of openly licensed resources. In this session, we will use a case of how we quickly adapted a course to shift learning from reading a book to doing research in teams, learning from each other, and co-writing and co-creating. In this course, students truly embrace themselves genuinely as scholars and love the opportunity to work collaboratively. The learning outcomes will help instructors consider or reconsider adapting similar approaches or even contributing to this project. This project also represents and highlights the work of various students from a number of different programs on our campus. It features a collaboration between instructors, student scholars, student helpers, and OER experts in creating and sharing reliable information. The content of the case studies always return to the goal of investigating outbreaks from multiple perspectives, highlighting the importance of diversity and diverse perspectives in human health and well-being. Some introductions. My name is Carlos Christopher Goller, and I am an associate teaching professor at NC State. And Nidhi Grover is a student worker that has been supported by the NC State University libraries to co-create with us. And most of our work has been truly inspired by David Tully and the NC State libraries. As we are well aware, outbreaks continue to happen. Pictured on this slide is a 3D rendering of the Ebola virus. And for the Honors 312 Outbreak course, I wanted to revisit how the word outbreak usually generates several reactions, often including fear. However, there is a rich history of outbreaks and the interdisciplinary perspectives required for their understanding really set the stage for exciting discussions. My goal and with this course was we can co-create with students a course based on recent outbreaks and at the same time dismantle the fear of the term outbreak and its implications. The Outbreak course, Honors 312. It's a 3-credit honors seminar style course with in-person discussions and case study analysis. We evaluate diseases from multiple perspectives. And the course website was developed based on specific review standards of the Quality Matters program and includes numerous opportunities for engaging, applying, analyzing, sharing, reflecting, and designing work in 2-week cycles that correspond to a specific outbreak we discuss. On the example on the left of the screen, we have the course website on our Moodle learning management system, highlighting the overview, module objectives for the Ebola outbreak, scaffolded notes, an interactive presentation, and how students contribute to a co-created Google Doc case study. The Outbreak course format includes materials that we share with students as H5P presentations that last between 20 and 45 minutes and include links to the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and numerous government agencies to learn about the outbreak we're discussing. There are news videos, knowledge check questions where students can respond and obtain instant feedback, and a Google Doc used as a template for notes. Every module has the same structure with engagement with this H5P activity, applying their knowledge through low stakes, non-graded questions. Then they apply and analyze their knowledge through discussion forums and in-person group activities. They share their thoughts in their groups and by creating a common document describing the outbreak from multiple perspectives. And then they reflect on the experience and design future case studies. The course schedule can be pictured here on the right as part of our roadmap on the Moodle learning management system. We've worked with developers to use an interactive roadmap that utilizes icons for each of the activities. And I want to highlight here how each of our 8 or 7 modules in this semester, 7 outbreaks, has a repeating structure. And we also have semester-long projects. But for every module, for example, the Ebola module, we have course objectives that are addressed by this module, an H5P activity that students interact with. They copy their notes document from a Google template. They share thoughts in a discussion forum. They reflect individually through a prompt we share, and they submit, and I grade that based on a rubric. And then they share a concept map that they co-create with their group members. What are outbreak case studies? These are, for this course, timely resources on an outbreak that has happened within the last 2 or 3 years. It's an engaging scenario based on facts. Thought-provoking discussion questions prompt additional considerations and critical thinking, and they are opportunities for all participants to engage with the content and create. These are ongoing resources that are continuously improved. the fall semester is improving on some of the outbreak case studies that the spring semester created. And there are open-ended questions that students respond to in teams. We do emphasize openness, and we do highlight continuous building of knowledge. The case studies focus on the causative agents, both viruses and bacteria causing the diseases and the outbreaks. We highlight how public health officials and lab surveillance is important for learning about current outbreaks and preventing future outbreaks. We discuss therapeutics and diagnostic opportunities for different outbreaks. What are the current practices? What will be used in the coming years? What's pending FDA approval, for example, in terms of vaccines and rapid tests? And we really do discuss all types of outbreaks, not only those that made the headlines in the news, but also, for example, a regional outbreak due to the consumption of oysters. We definitely focus on the implications of outbreaks from multiple perspectives. And examples of outbreaks we've discussed include measles, Ebola, Mpox, dengue, norovirus, measles, salmonella, listeria, brucella, and we keep on adding to the list. The scenarios and concepts include global and regional outbreaks, outbreaks caused by mosquitoes, consumption of oysters, raw milk, travel-associated outbreaks, and ongoing outbreaks. We define the co-creation process as that using 3 steps. First, I explain the purpose and tasks, the topics, and group assignments using a Google Doc and in-person discussions. We encourage proofreading and citation etiquette, and we emphasize the importance of reliable information and teamwork. Then we share results so that teams get to review and improve the sections other teams worked on. We do this through Google Docs, Miro concept maps, BioRender graphical abstracts, critical thinking questions, summaries that each group is tasked with making, takeaways, bullet points that each group is tasked with creating, and all participants add to a glossary of terms we have for each case study. The Google Docs that we create are the tasks that we present with a simple slide, a co-writing slide where we say, with your team, work on the glossary and takeaways, for example, or the specific section that your team is in charge of working on. That could be background on the causative agent of the outbreak, specifics on a regional outbreak, public health response, implications. Groups then work on the section of the document, and we emphasize using citations and paraphrasing. And we do this in 30-minute sessions. And over here on the right, there's a Google Doc example of the Ebola virus outbreak in Uganda 2022. I include a prompt for groups to address, and then the group works together to add text and write about the outbreaks in Uganda, for example. Students also work in groups to create concept maps visually depicting interconnections and different perspectives for each outbreak. And groups are tasked with creating a biorender graphical abstract to explain their section of the case study. For example, this graphical abstract illustrates how Ebola is spread throughout the animal kingdom and humanity. And this was created by Group 1, and the participants are there. So the case studies are improved through constant cycles. Last semester's work is used as a scaffold by groups this semester. We encourage edits, updates, fact-checking, and overall improvements. And new and updated graphical abstracts and concept maps are added. There's discussion about improvements, and we highlight this by saying, Module 1, we will revisit what groups created last semester, and we will edit and fact check and improve. Do you agree with Group 1 from last semester's course? Do you agree with their group summary? How can you improve it? And students are scholars and create in this course. How can we share this work and celebrate the work by other scholars? And this is just the beginning. We have several opportunities thanks to the NC State libraries and their emphasis on open educational resources and open pedagogy.
There are many places where you can find open resources on the internet. Open resources typically refer to content that is licensed to be freely available for anyone to use, modify, and share. To find open resources, you can explore various online platforms and repositories that offer a wide range of content under open licenses. Some repositories will publish specific types of resources, such as textbooks, and sometimes additional supplementary materials which accompany the text, such as PowerPoint slides, test banks, solutions manuals, and more. Other repositories have many different types of educational materials available for others to use, such as videos, audio, images, modules, datasets, and much, much more. Some of these repositories also allow individual users to upload, share, and disseminate their own materials. Instructors, students, and other researchers publish openly licensed content for several reasons, but are usually primarily driven by the goal of making knowledge and research findings more accessible and inclusive. North Carolina State University Libraries, we've been supporting the work of instructors who are interested in publishing openly and are interested in bringing the principles of open education into their classrooms and assignments for the past decade. One way in which we've done this is through the Open Pedagogy Incubator. The Incubator is a multi-semester long program which is specifically designed to support faculty to move beyond what we call the first step of adopting open course materials into implementing open-enabled practices into their courses. So a faculty member who's interested in the Incubator applies. If they're accepted, they're trained up and given knowledge, skills, and support in 3 main areas. The first is the potential of open pedagogy. The second is the current and emerging models of open pedagogical practices. And the third is being prepared to leave with a set of concrete processes for implementing open pedagogy. The Incubator brings together a cohort of instructors to start to have a conversation about who they are, about what they teach, and why they teach the way they teach, and what about open pedagogy is particularly exciting or inspiring to them. So we look to build a community through shared conversations, which is informed by readings, hands-on workshops, and visits from practitioners who have experience in open pedagogy style assignments. The program is very deliberate about identifying people from different stages of their career, from different levels of experience, and different departments and fields. The idea isn't to have a bunch of folks from the same department talking to one another. It's about developing a community by having a cohort that cuts across disciplines to learn from one another, that cuts across different knowledge of open pedagogy, and cuts across different levels of career advancement as well. And one of the advantages of the incubator is that it can be applied at a local level, but it can be equally effective in connecting together instructors from different institutions who teach in different regions to different types of students, and together they are connected and can learn from one another via this shared interest in applying open pedagogy within their syllabi. The incubator is the younger sibling of the Alt Textbook project. This program is long established in supporting instructors with grants, plus hands-on support and expertise to adapt or create openly licensed materials, or support the implementation of open pedagogy assignments. So you can imagine that an instructor might take part in the incubator, they learn the values and principles of open education, they are introduced to some of the tools, they begin to form a community, and then they have the Alt Textbook program available to support them in implementing open pedagogy and/or OER into their course.
With this work, we are able to share the student scholars' work in an pub site that we called Outbreak that was designed by Nidhi Grover, a student supported by the Alt Textbook program, who designed and organized the work from students from the spring semester. Students agreed they could contribute their work as a class to the pub site, and once the course was over, Nidhi formatted the materials like those seen on our Outbreak pub course. For example, this is Module 1, the overview with an introduction and the citation. The banner of the Outbreak pub features exploration opportunities for student work and the outbreaks we did that semester. For example, there are now 7 modules from the spring semester with similar layouts thanks to Nidhi's work that showcase the co-creation of case studies by participants in the spring course. And these modules are being improved and additional ones are being created by students from the fall semester. Every module has not only an overview, but examples of graphical abstracts and concept maps, an overview of the specific outbreak, an analysis of the implications and work that can be applied to future outbreaks, takeaways, critical thinking questions, which students from this semester are encouraged to reply to, and disease information, as well as a focus on public health response and diagnostics. So scholar contributions are shared openly and valued. And we highlight this in the course by saying, you are contributing to a source, you are the investigators and scholars creating this case study. So there are numerous opportunities for improvement of the cases, including discussions on the pub site is one of the goals that we have for upcoming semesters. Student individual and group semester-long projects include multimedia projects and individual outbreak reports that we are going to include on the pub site and will feature elements of multimedia and accessibility. And we want to include other opportunities for interactions, such as students from this semester responding to or commenting on works of students or student groups from last semester. We really think this is an exciting opportunity to continue learning, continue using pub, learning how we can highlight the work of students in the class, the work of Nidhi Grover and Open Ed Alt Textbook programs in our campus and other campuses. So please feel free to reach out to us, and we hope this presentation helped you learn a little bit about Outbreak case studies and how we can improve them. Thank you.